The safety of the people shall be the highest law. This reminds us that laws exist to protect and serve the people. In the field of education, legal frameworks ensure that students receive quality learning, that teachers are granted their rights, and institutions function effectively. Good day, everyone, and good day, Attorney Prada. Today, we will be presenting the Module 1, which is the Introduction to the Philippine Legal System and Education. This discussion will help us understand how laws shape and regulate our education system. Our group is composed of yours truly, Ana Maris Ibay, Mr. Samson Pancho Jr., Miss Emilo Putot, and Miss Michelle Tanelon. Each of us will tackle different aspects of the topic. To begin, let us first understand the legal foundation of our country. The Philippine legal system serves as the framework for all laws, including those that govern education. It is shaped by the various influences and plays a crucial role in ensuring order, justice, and the protection of rights. By the way, my name is Ana Maris Ibay, and I will start with the first topic, which is the overview of the Philippine legal system. Now, how was the Philippine legal system was formed? The Philippine legal system is a mix of different influences. It is a combination of civil law, common law, and indigenous law. So what is civil law? So it was influenced or inherited from Spain. Civil law relies on written statutes and legal codes rather than case precedents. It governs contracts, obligations, family law, and property law. Next is the common law. It was introduced by American rule. Common law emphasizes judicial precedents. This means that court decisions serve as a guide in interpreting and applying laws, especially in constitutional and criminal cases. And lastly is the indigenous law. This consists of unwritten customs and traditions followed by indigenous groups. These laws, which is recognized by the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act or the Republic Act 8371, so these continue to govern aspects of local communities, including conflict resolution and property ownership. So this is governed by the 1987 Philippine Constitution. So it serves as the foundation of all laws in the country, which ensures the protection of citizens' rights, including education. So my question is, why is the 1987 Philippine Constitution considered the highest law of the land? Well, it is because it provides the foundation for governance and laws, including those related to education, and no other law or policy can contradict it. Understanding this legal system is crucial for ensuring that laws are properly implemented in schools and also in educational institutions. There are three branches of government that make, enforce, and interpret laws. Under the separation of powers, each branch of government has a unique function. So what are the three branches of government? We have the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. So what are their unique functions? Let me tackle first about the legislative branch. Okay, this branch is responsible for creating, passing, changing, and repealing laws. It is consists of the House of Representatives and also the Senate. So they will draft and approve laws. So the example education laws that they have drafted and approved was the Republic Act of 10533, which is the K to 12 law, and also the Republic Act of 4670, which is the Magna Carta for public school teachers. Next branch is the executive. The president leads this branch. So he will carry out the laws, runs government day to day, and he will ensure the implementation of laws. We also have the agencies such as the DepEd, CHED, and TESDA. They will oversee the education system, establish policies, and manage the schools. And the last branch is the judicial. This is headed by the Supreme Court, and this branch interprets laws and settles arguments or disputes. It plays a crucial role in ensuring that education policies follow constitutional principles and protects the rights of the students as well as the teachers. As we all can see, each branch operates independently, but they must work together to maintain a fair and effective educational system. I have here an example case or scenario where the branches work together. Okay. In 2013 or 2013, the Philippine government implemented Republic Act 10533, or also known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act or K-12 law, which added 2 more years to the basic education system. The implementation of this law involved all the three branches of government. So what are the roles of the three branches? Let us go with the legislative branch. So the Congress drafted and passed the Republic Act 10533, introducing the K-12 system to enhance the Philippine education curriculum. Then for the executive branch, which is the president, he signed the law. Then the Department of Education or the DepEd took charge of implementing K-12 by issuing policies, teacher training, and curriculum development. And what is the role of the judicial? So the Supreme Court reviewed cases challenging K-12, particularly arguments from teachers groups and students who feared job loss and additional financial burdens. So in 2018, the Supreme Court upheld the law, affirming that K-12 was constitutional and necessary for global education standards. So that is how the RA 10533 was implemented. The ruling reaffirmed that education reforms require collaboration among all three branches, which is laws must be legislated, executed, and interpreted fairly. Now let us proceed to the key components of the legal system or the sources of law. These are the Constitution, statutory laws, administrative orders, and judicial decisions. So what is Constitution? The Constitution serves as the highest legal authority and provides the foundation for all other laws. It sets out the fundamental rights and responsibilities of citizens and institutions, including provisions on education, stating that education is a right and must be accessible to all. The Constitution also defines the powers of the government branches. It ensures checks and balances in policymaking and law enforcement. Next is the statutory laws. So these are the laws passed by the Congress to regulate various aspects of society, including the education. So the example laws that they have passed is the Education Act of 1982, which establishes policies for formal and non-formal education, and also the Republic Act 9155, or also known as the Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001, which defines the responsibilities of the Department of Education or DepEd in managing the education system. And lastly, the one that I have tackled earlier, the Republic Act 10533, or also known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, which introduced the K-12 systems. Now, the third law is the administrative orders. These are issued by the government agencies such as DepEd, SHED, and TESDA to regulate and implement education policies. These orders help interpret and execute statutory laws, ensuring that policies align with national educational goals. And lastly, the judicial decisions. The Supreme Court and also the lower courts interprets the laws, and their rulings influence how education laws are applied. The court decisions serve as precedents, shaping future legal interpretations and policy implementation. So, for example, the legal disputes over school policies, students' rights, or teacher employment conditions are settled through judicial rulings. Okay, understanding these components allows stakeholders to effectively implement and follow laws that govern education in the Philippines. So we have here the education in the legal framework. Education in the Philippines is protected by various laws and policies. Some of the most important ones include the 1987 Constitution, Article 14, the Republic Act 9155, the Republic Act 10533, and lastly, the Republic Act 4670. So, what are the functions of these legal frameworks? So, let me tackle first about the 1987 Constitution, the Article 14. So, this mandates that education as a right. It ensures access to quality education, and it mandates that education should be free in public schools and also accessible to all. Then we have the Republic Act 9155, or also known as the Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001. So this defines the roles in education management, or the institutions and also the administrators. Then we have the Republic Act 10533, or also known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. So this established the K-12 system to improve the country's education standards. And lastly, the Republic Act 4670. So this, also known as the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. So this protects the teacher's right. This ensures fair treatment, proper compensation, and professional development opportunities for the teachers. So how these laws protect both students and teachers? So here is an example case or a scenario. Maria, a 16-year-old student, was denied enrollment in a public high school because she could not pay miscellaneous fees. The question is the school's action legal? Why or why not? The answer is it is not legal. So if it is not legal, what law did the school violated? Yes, the school violated the 1987 Constitution, Article 40, which guarantees free public education. And additionally, DepEd policies prohibit requiring fees for enrollment. So that is why the school should allow Maria to enroll despite her financial situation. Alright, so here's another case. So Mr. Cruz, a public school teacher, was dismissed for alleged misconduct without an investigation or formal hearing. So the question is, did his dismissal follow due process? The answer is no. Mr. Cruz was denied his right to due process. According to the Republic Act 4670, or the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, the public school teachers cannot be dismissed without a proper hearing. So, Mr. Cruz can appeal his case to the Civil Service Commission or to the DepEd. Now that we have already know about educational legal frameworks, let us now talk about due process. So what is due process? So here are the legal principles. Understanding the key legal principles is essential to ensuring fairness and justice in education, but not only in education but also in our society. So there are two fundamental legal principles in the Philippine legal systems. They are the rule of law and the due process. So let's talk out first about the rule of law. So this principle states that all individuals and institutions are accountable to the law. So when we say all individuals, it includes also the government. It is also accountable under the law. No one is above the law, and laws must be applied fairly and consistently. This ensures that the educational policies and decisions are made in accordance with legal standards. Now let us talk about due process. This legal requirement ensures that the state must respect all legal rights owed to a person. It protects individuals from arbitrary actions by the government or institutions. So in education, due process is critical in disciplinary actions involving the students, teachers, and also the school personnel to ensure fairness and proper procedures are followed. Alright, so here are the example cases related to these two. So the first scenario is a mayor issued an order banning a certain book from all public school libraries because he personally disagreed with its content. So the question is, does this action follow the rule of law? The answer is no. The mayor's action violates the rule of law. Government officials must follow legal processes, and banning books without due process is unconstitutional. The Department of Education or courts should decide on such matters based on legal guidelines, not personal opinion. Alright, here's another example of case or a scenario. A high school principal expelled a student for allegedly cheating on an exam without conducting an investigation or allowing the student to defend himself. The question is, did the school violate due process? The answer is yes. The student was not given the opportunity to explain their side. The schools must follow DepEd guidelines, which require a fair investigation before imposing disciplinary actions. The students can appeal the expulsion to the DepEd regional office in this case. Now, to summarize, the Philippine legal system ensures that laws are in place to protect us people, especially as teachers and also students. It is important for us to be aware of these laws to uphold justice and fairness. So those were the topics included in the overview of the Philippine legal system. Now let us proceed to the historical context of education in the Philippines, which will be reported by Sir Samson Pancho Jr. Thank you all for listening.
As Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Good day, everyone. I am Samson P. Pancho Jr., and today I will be discussing the historical context of the Philippine educational system. First and foremost, I would like to extend my warm greetings to our professor, Attorney Selwyn Prada. Education has always played a crucial role in shaping our society. But have you ever wondered how our educational system evolved through the years? How did it start? And what lessons can we learn from history to improve our education system today? To answer these questions, let's take a journey through time and explore the significant transformations of Philippine education. Let's start at the very beginning, the pre-Spanish period or before 1521. During the pre-Spanish period, education was informal, unstructured, and vocational. There were no formal schools, and learning took place within families and communities. Parents and tribal tutors like a babaylan were the main educators, passing down essential survival skills such as hunting, fishing, farming, and weaving. Children also learned about community values, traditions, and moral teachings through storytelling and daily experiences. Unlike today's formal system, early education was more practical than academic. Reading, writing, and arithmetic were not the focus. Instead, the priority was to prepare children for real life challenges within their community. Specifically, they aim to instill reverence for the god Bathala, obedience to authority, loyalty to the family or clan, and respect for truth and righteousness. However, everything changed with the arrival of the Spaniards in 1521. During the Spanish colonization, education in the Philippines was primarily religious and focused on converting the indigenous population to Catholicism, with religious orders like the missionaries and friars playing a role in education and language instruction. Initially, it was reserved for the elite, but the Educational Decree of 1863 provided a more structured system by creating the Superior Commission of Primary Instruction, headed by a chairman. This decree mandated the establishment of primary schools for boys and girls in each town under government control. A normal school for male teachers was placed under the supervision of the Jesuits, and free primary education with compulsory Spanish language instruction was introduced. However, despite these reforms, education remained inadequate and highly controlled. Then came the revolutionary government, bringing another shift in education. During this period, schools established by the Spanish were temporarily closed but later reopened. The First Philippine Republic under Emilio Aguinaldo introduced efforts to make education more inclusive. Thus, the Malolos Constitution mandated free and compulsory elementary education. And important institutions were also founded that includes the Burgos Institute in Malolos that focused on higher learning, the Military Academy of Malolos that was established for military training, and the Literary University of the Philippines that aimed at academic excellence. And during this time, education was seen as a tool for nationalism and independence, moving away from Spanish influence. However, this initiative was short-lived due to the American occupation. However, with the arrival of the Americans, education took another turn in the years 1901 to 1942. Under American rule, A secularized and free public school system was established in the Philippines. The Sherman and Taft Commissions played crucial roles in emphasizing primary instruction and civic training. This led to the passage of Act No. 74 in 1901, which created a highly centralized public school system, resulting in the formation of the Department of Public Instruction, headed by a general superintendent. The act provided for free public schools where English was their medium of instruction, aiming to educate and assimilate Filipinos into American society. It also authorized the establishment of private schools, marking a significant shift from the previous Spanish colonial education system, which had religious instruction as a core component. The education system was structured into three levels. The first one is the elementary, comprising four primary years and three intermediate years. The second one is the secondary or high school that lasts up to 4 years. And the last one is college or the tertiary level. So it encompasses higher education institutions. And to support this educational reform, the American government sent 600 teachers, known as the Thomasites, to the Philippines in 1901. The Thomasites played a vital role in establishing the new public school system. Thus, in 1902, the Philippine Normal School or the PNS was established to train teachers, and it later evolved into the Philippine Normal University or the PNU. As a result of these reforms, education expanded significantly at all levels because in 1902, high schools, trade schools, and agricultural schools were established, like the Philippine Agricultural Schools, which was later known as the University of Philippines Los Baños. And by 1908, the University of the Philippines was founded through the Act Number 1870. And in the year 1916, Jones Law or the Organic Act reorganized the education system and mandated the Philippinization of all department secretaries, with the exception of the Secretary of Public Instruction. However, World War II brought drastic changes under Japanese rule in the years 1942 to 1945. During the Japanese occupation from 1942 to 1945, education in the Philippines underwent significant changes aimed at promoting the greatest East Asia co-prosperity sphere. The focus was on teaching the Japanese language, vocational skills, and fostering a love for labor, while also striving to eliminate Western influences and uplift Filipino morals. And the education system was restructured under Military Order Number 2 in 1942, which created the Commission of Education, Health, and Public Welfare. This commission was led by a commissioner under the Japanese Executive Commission. So the new system emphasized the teaching of Tagalog, Philippine history, and character education, aiming to instill values such as love for work and the dignity of labor. So there were schools that are reopened in June 1942 and in 1943. So the Ministry of Education was established under the Japanese-sponsored republic to oversee the educational reforms. So notably, in 1944, the department was briefly renamed back to the Department of Public Instruction, reflecting on the ongoing evolution of the education system during this tumultuous period. After the World War II, significant changes in education continued because during the post-independence era, in the years of 1947 to 1975, the Philippines underwent significant changes in its education system because in 1945, the Department of Public Instruction and Information was established under the Commonwealth government to oversee the rebuilding of schools and the education sector. And by 1946, this department was renamed into the Department of Instruction, reflecting the government's efforts to reorganize and strengthen the system. And in 1947, Executive Order 19 Executive Order 94 officially changed its name to the Department of Education or DepEd, now headed by a secretary. To ensure proper regulation and standardization, the Bureau of Public and Private Schools was created to oversee both public and private institutions nationwide. And these reforms marked the beginning of a new era in the Philippine education, emphasizing the importance of a structured and well-regulated educational framework. Now, let's move on as the Marcos era brought further significant changes in education. Because in the years 1972 to 1986, with the declaration of martial law, the education system underwent significant restructuring to align with the government's agenda of centralization and cultural integration. So under Proclamation number 1081, the Department of Education was renamed into Department of Education and Culture, emphasizing national identity and discipline in schools. However, in 1978, the Presidential Decree number 1397 converted the department into the Ministry of Education and Culture, marking a shift to a parliamentary style government where agencies were reorganized into ministries. And as a result, the head of the department was now referred to as a minister instead of a secretary. Moreover, the Education Act of 1982 introduced further reforms by expanding the role of private institutions and decentralizing authority, leading to another renaming. So, the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports, or MEX. This change reflected a more holistic approach to education, integrating culture and sports as essential elements of national development. Now, let's move on after the former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. was ousted. So, the post-EDSA revolution marked another transformation in education. In the years 1987 to 2001, which was or after the 1986 People Power Revolution, the education system underwent another reorganization to address the changing needs of the country. And as part of these changes, in 1987, Executive Order number 117 renamed the Ministry of Education, Culture and Sports, or MEX, into the Department of Education, Culture and Sports, or DECS, so restoring a more traditional departmental structure. And in the following years, a major reform took place with the trifocalization of education in 1994 to 1995. So this initiative aimed to improve efficiency and specialization by dividing responsibilities among three key agencies. The first agency is Commission on Higher Education or CHED, which was created under Republic Act number 7722 to oversee tertiary education. And then another one is the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or the TESDA, which was established through Republic Act number 7796 to manage vocational and technical education. And lastly, the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, or DECS, which remained responsible for basic education. And through this reform, the government ensured a more focused approach to different educational levels that allows for better governance and the continued development of each sector. Finally, let's move on to the modern era, starting from the year 2001 up to the present. With the 21st century came another major reform in education. So, what are these reforms? In 2001, Republic Act number 9155 transformed the Department of Education, Culture and Sports or DSCS into the Department of Education or DepEd, which is the current name of the department. shifting the focus towards school based management and leadership empowerment. This reform aimed to decentralize decision making, granting schools greater autonomy in managing resources and implementing policies. So DepEd now oversees elementary, secondary, and non-formal education, including the Alternative Learning System or ALS, which provides flexible education for out-of-school youth and adult learners. Moreover, subsequent reforms continued to reshape Philippine education. So let's start in the year 2013. So the Enhanced Basic Education Act or RA 10533 introduced the K-12 program, extending the basic education to 12 years to align with international standards and improve students' global competitiveness. And in the year 2017, the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act or RA 10931 mandated free tuition in state universities and colleges, expanding access to higher education for Filipino students. And lastly, in the year 2023, the DepEd launched the Matatag curriculum. It is a revised K-12 framework that streamlined learning areas and emphasized Filipino identity, nationalism, and foundational skills in literacy, numeracy, and socio-emotional learning. These reforms highlight the continuous evolution of the Philippine education system, aiming to provide quality, inclusive, and globally competitive learning opportunities for all. Before we end, let's reflect on what we've learned. So, the Philippine education system has undergone significant transformations shaped by historical, political, and cultural shifts from informal tribal education to a structured, secular, and globally competitive system. And these changes reflect the nation's ongoing pursuit of quality education for all. And as we conclude, this topic raises important questions such as what lessons can we learn from history to improve our education system today? And in answering this question, I believe that lessons learned from history emphasize the importance of adaptability and resilience in education because by understanding the past challenges and successes, we can create a more responsive education system that addresses current needs while preparing for future demands. And now, let's move on to the next question. The next question is how will the next generation shape the future of Philippine education? So, as I reflect on this question, I believe the next generation can shape the future of Philippine education by advocating for innovative teaching methods, embracing technology, and promoting inclusivity. Because I know that they have the power, or we have the power to take an active role in community based education initiatives and push for policies that support equitable access to quality educations. Because I also believe that education continues to evolve and it is up to us to ensure it remains inclusive, relevant, and transformative. So that's it. This concludes my presentation. Once again, I am Samson P. Pancho Jr. Thank you and have a great day.
A pleasant day to each and every one of us, especially to our professor, Attorney Selwyn Prada. My task is to continue the topic of my two groups. This is preferably about 1987 Constitution and Provision on Education. So the Philippine in its 1987 Constitution, the law recognized education as a right with provisions for free public education, academic freedom, and support for the indigenous learning, embodied by the following rights and provision. Number one is the right for free and compulsory basic education. This guarantees a compulsory and basic education for all children. Number two is levels of basic education, the governance and administration, the role of the government, the provision of child labor and corporal punishment, teacher management and professionalism, the curriculum and the quality assurance, the special needs and inclusive education, financing of basic education, private and alternative education, offenses and penalties, transition and progression in education. Now we have heard the provision of education in 1987 Philippine Constitution. The 1987 Philippine Constitution highlights the education as a fundamental right and priority of the state. The provision related to education are primarily found in this article, Article 14. This relates education, science, technology, and arts, culture, and sports. Now, here are the key provisions. Number one, the right to education. So, education is recognized as a right for all citizens. This state must protect and promote the right to quality education. So, education must be accessible to all levels. Number two, free and compulsory education. The state must establish and maintain a free public education system. Primary and secondary education is compulsory and free in public schools. The higher education is subsidized by the government. Then scholarship grants and financial aid must be provided for deserving students. And number three, the rule of states in education that is in section 3. The state must set minimum educational standard and regulate schools, then support non-formal technical and vocational educations, encourage indigenous learning system and education for marginalized sector. So number four, support for teachers. The government must ensure this decent salary and job security for teachers, provide continuous training and professional growth, give support and incentives to teachers in the remote areas. The number five is academic freedom. Schools and universities have the right to determine their own policies and curriculum in the governance, then promote critical thinking and independent learning. Then, in number six, you have medium and instruction and Filipino language promotion. The national language Filipino shall be promoted in education. The medium of instruction in schools shall be Filipino and English. So the state must encourage also the use of regional languages as auxiliary medium of instruction. Now, in science and technology and innovation in education, the state must prioritize science and technology education, support research and innovation in universities, then encourage international collaboration in education and research. Number eight is protection of indigenous and cultural education. The government must preserve indigenous culture through education, so promotes cultural heritage, arts, and history in the curriculum. Nine is recognition of private schools and alternative learning system, that is in section 4. The state as follows the operation of private school provided they meet the uh, national educational standards. The establishment of non-formal distance and vocational education program. The number 10 is sports and physical education. The state must promote physical education and sport in all schools. Then support the national athletes and sports development. So that's all about the Constitution in 1987 provision. Now let's proceed to slide 2. Article 14 of 1987 Philippine Constitution and the Holistic Approach in Education. Article 14 in 1987 focuses on education, science and technology, arts and culture, and sports. Now, it highlights the government's commitment to providing education for inclusive and holistic education for all Filipinos. A holistic approach in education based on Article 14. A holistic approach in education means that learning is not only about academics, but also about developing a student intellectual, emotional, physical, social, and moral well-being. Now, how is holistic approach applied to education? A holistic approach to education focuses on developing the whole child, not just academically, but emotionally, socially, physically, and morally. So it goes beyond textbook and exams to prepare students for real life challenges by nurturing the critical thinking, creativity, social skills, and well being. Now, how about the holistic approach applied to arts and culture? In arts and culture, a holistic approach to arts and culture goes beyond just learning techniques or history. It integrates intellectual, emotional, social, and even spiritual aspects to create a well-rounded appreciation and engagement with artistic and cultural expressions. This ensures the student and individual not just uh, consume consume arts and culture, but understand, create, and live it. Now, in holistic approach to science and technology, a holistic approach to science and technology goes beyond memorizing formulas or conducting experiments. It integrates critical thinking, ethical responsibilities, creativities, and real-world problem solving. This ensures the learner to develop a deep understanding and scientific principles while considering the impacts on society, the environment, and the humanity. Now, how the holistic approach is applied to sports? A holistic approach to sports goes beyond physical trainings and competition. So it develops an athlete mind, body, and character. So the approach ensures that sports not only enhance physical abilities, but it also promotes mental resilience, emotional intelligence, teamwork, ethics, and lifelong wellness. Now, as stated in section 2, the right to quality education. Now, this refers to universal and inclusive education, section 1 and 2, that education must be accessible to all regardless of socioeconomic status or background. So the government provides free and compulsory primary and secondary education. There should be a scholarships and financial aids are given to poor but deserving students. The development of critical thinking and values in section 3. The curriculum must instill patriotism, nationalism, discipline, and other ethical values. Then encourage the technological knowledge while preserving the Filipino identity. Now, for the academic freedom, the lifelong learning higher education institution have the right to determine the policies and curriculum, encourage formal and non-formal technical education to support lifelong process. So, in science and technology, the government prioritizes science, scientific research, and technology advancement and support innovations and international collaboration on education. For physical and sports education, the school must promote physical education as part of holistic development. So the holistic development, the approach in the under Article 14 ensures that Filipino students develop not just academically but also morally, socially, and physically. So it promotes inclusive culture rich and future ready education to prepare individuals for life beyond school. And let's proceed to section 1 of Article 14 states that the state shall protect and promote the rights of all citizens to quality education and all levels and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. The key point of explanation includes educational as a fundamental right. Every Filipino has the right to quality education regardless of gender, socioeconomic status, or background. The state responsibility. The government must ensure that the education is accessible, inclusive, and equitable at all levels, primary, secondary, and tertiary. It must allocate resources to improve schools, train teachers, and provide scholarship. Quality education. The government must maintain high standards in teaching, curriculum development, and school facilities. It must regularly review and reform the education system to meet national and global needs. Accessibility. Now, accessible. The state should remove barriers such as poverty, distance, and discrimination that prevents children from attending school. It must provide free primary and secondary education and expand support to the higher education. Now, let's proceed to Section 2, Objectives and Administration. The government, through the Department of Education DepEd, the Commission on Higher Education CHED, and the Technical Education and Skills Development TESDA, uh, its administration on education in relation to values formation. Education plays a crucial role in values formation, shaping students into responsible, ethical, and morally upright citizens. The 1987 Constitution, Article 14 of Section 3, emphasizes that education should instill patriotism, respect for human rights and moral integrity, and social responsibilities. Objectives of administration to education in relation to development. Education plays a crucial role in skills development, ensuring that students acquire the knowledge and competencies needed for growth, employment, and national development. In 1987 Philippine Constitution, Article 14, Section 2 and 3 mandates that education should equip learners with practical skills, technical expertise, and lifelong learning abilities. Now, how do government administer objective and values formation? The Philippine government ensures that values formation is embedded in the education through the laws, policies, curriculum integrations, and school programs. Various government agencies oversee the implement this objective at the educational level. So the government agencies implementing values formations were Department of Education, DepEd, implementing basic education curriculum, the K to 12, implemented in the Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao, ESP. This subject teaches morality, ethics, and social responsibility. Good manners and right conduct to the MRC, mandatory subject in elementary and secondary. The integration of all subjects, the values formation is incorporated in school, in science, math, and other subjects within and across curriculum. The Republic Act number 8491, this talks about flag and heraldic code of the Philippines, which requires the school to kids respect the Philippine flag and the national anthem. Then it promotes love of country and patriotism. Example, the students sing and the national anthem and recite the Panatang Makabayan daily. Now, another is in ASP subject, it's teach honesty, discipline, and environmental responsibility. Now, how do government administer the objective in skills, skill development? The Philippine government promotes skill development through education policies, trainings, programs, and national certificates. It ensures that student and worker acquires the necessary skills for employment, entrepreneurship, and lifelong learning. Then there is a constitutional basis for skills development. Article 14, Section 3 uh, of 1987 Constitution states that the education shall foster vocational efficiency and practical skills, equip students with technical knowledge and entrepreneurial abilities. So, promote science and technology and innovation for national development. Example, schools offer technical vocational livelihood TBL strands in senior high school to prepare students for employment. Now, the Philippine government promotes national consciousness through education policies and programs that strengthens patriotism, cultural identity, and social responsibility among citizens. The constitutional basis for national consciousness it is on Article 14, Section 3 of 1987 Constitution states that education shall inculcate patriotism and nationalism, promotes love of country, respect for human rights, and civic responsibility. encourage appreciation for Philippine history, culture, and traditions. Examples for this Philippine history and civic education to help students understand their national identity. So education plays a critical role in fostering national consciousness, so which refers to an individual's awareness, appreciation, and commitment to their country's history, culture, and values. Now let's proceed to Section 3 of Article 14. Section 3 of Article 14 in 1987 Philippine Constitution emphasized a unified and coordinated education system that ensures all Filipinos have access to quality education. What is unified system of education? A unified system of education refers to structured and coordinated approach to education with different levels, basic, secondary, and higher education, and various learning modalities, formal, non-formal, alternative education, are harmonized under a single national framework. The system ensures equal access, continuity, and quality in education for all citizens. What is formal education? A formal education is structured, organized, and systematic form of learning that takes place in schools, colleges, and universities. It follows a set of curriculum as guided by and trained by teachers or professors. Now, the key features in formal education where structured learning follows a plan curriculum with specific subject and grade levels. The recognition of institution conducted in school, colleges, and universities. Certified teachers taught by professionals with formal trainings. The assessment and evaluation use test exams and other grades to measure progress. Leads to certificates or certification. Results to diploma, degrees, and certificates. Example, a student attending elementary, high schools, college, follows a structured programs and receives official certificates after graduation. Now, example of basic formal education in the Philippines. Basic education, the K to 12 program from kindergarten to senior high school. Then the higher education, we have the college universities, bachelor's degree, the master's degree, the doctorate degree. So example, a student completes a Bachelor of Science in Education and he becomes a teacher. Technical and vocational education, the TVET. It is a short-term course in TESDA accredited institution. This leads to national certificate in C1, in C2, in C3, in C4. So this prepares a student for skilled jobs like electrician, mechanics, culinary arts, and others. Non-formal education. The non-formal education refers to any organization, educational activity that takes place outside the formal school system. It is designed for individuals who cannot attend regular schooling due to personal, economic, and social reasons. Non-formal education provides flexible, practical, and skill-based learning that helps people acquire knowledge and skills and vocational trainings. Indigenous learning. Indigenous learning refers to traditional knowledge, skills, values, and ways of learning developed by indigenous people over generation. So it is based on oral traditions, storytelling, hands-on experience, and deep connection with nature, culture, and community. This type of learning is holistic, experiential, and community-driven, focusing on the preservation of cultural heritage and sustainable living. Then, informal education. Informal education refers to learning that happens outside of structured school system. It is unplanned, spontaneous, and of course, naturally daily experience, interactions, and self-directed activity. The key features in informal educations were no formal structure, no set of curriculum, schools, official learning institutions, Then self-directed learning happens through life experience, social interactions, or interdependent study. No exams or no certifications, unlike formal education. It does not lead to official diplomas and degrees. Then flexible and continuous learning happens anytime, anywhere. So practical and experience based often involve hands-on learning. Example, a child learning to cook from their parents, sometimes learning a new language through YouTube videos. Example of informal education. Informal education that is learning from daily experiences, learning household chores from parents, observing and copying others in social setting, picking up skills from hobbies like gardening and paintings. Example: a child learn how to budget money by watching the parent shop, learning through media and technology, watching educational videos on YouTube, reading books, blogs, and articles, listen to podcasts and radio discussion. Example: a person learns basic photography skills from an online tutorial. Then learning from social interactions and community engagement, gaining cultural knowledge through conversation, learning teamwork and leadership and volunteering, improving communication skills in casual group discussion. So example is a teenager learn conflicts, then resolution skills by helping friends solve the disagreement. Now let's move on to section 4, non-profit status and freedom in education, 1987 Philippine Constitution under Article 14. Now, Section 4 of Article 14 in the 1987 Constitution highlights the non-profit status educational institution and the freedom of educational institution to operate independently while being regulated by the government. What is non-profit status? A non-profit status means that an organization operates not to make a personal profit, but to serve a public, social, or educational purpose. Any money earned is reinvested into the organization to improve its services rather than being distributed as profits to individuals or owners. Now, the key features of nonprofit organization is no profit distribution. Earnings are used to improve the organization, not for personal gain. So tax exemption, many nonprofit receives tax benefit from the government. Public service focus often involved in education, healthcare, charity, and social development. Governed by a board, so managed by trustees or a board of directors instead of private owners. Example, a nonprofit school uses as tuition fees to improve facilities, pay teachers, and provide scholarship instead of distributing profits to the owner. So, example of nonprofit organization, nonprofit schools and universities, Catholic schools and state universities, the charities and foundations, Red Cross, UNICEF, Kalinga, then the religious organizations, example churches, Islamic Center, Buddhist Temple, for environmental groups of WWF, the Greenpeace. So, nonprofit status in education under Article 14, Section 4, 1987 Philippine Constitution. This is educational institutions should be nonprofit to receive government support, tax exemption, and subsidies. So private school may be for profit, but they are subject to government regulation. So state universities and colleges operates as non-profit and receives government funding. For example, the University of the Philippines, it is non-profit state university, while some private colleges operates to profit. So what is academic freedom? An academic freedom refers to the right of teacher, students, and educational institutions to teach, study, and conduct research freely. So without political, religious, and commercial interference. So it ensures that education remains interdependent and focused on truth, innovations, and other critical thinkings. The academic freedom in the Philippine Constitution under Article 14, that is Section 5, in the 1987 Constitution, the Philippine Constitution states, "An academic freedom shall be enjoyed in all institutions of higher learning." This means that universities and colleges can set their own curriculum and academic policies, so conduct independent research and publish findings, choose faculty, and manage their institution freely. For example, the University of the Philippines, UP, enjoys academic freedom by allowing to be critical government policies. The importance of academic freedom is the encourages critical thinking. So all allows students and teachers to explore diverse ideas. Then it protects intellectual independence and prevents external forces from controlling education. Then it promotes scientific social progress, ensures open discussion and innovation, and it defends democratic values. It supports speech and the pursuit of truth. Then there are some of implementing agencies that manage. Who are the implementing agencies responsible for implementing education policies? Several government agencies responsible for implementing education policies, ensuring quality standard and promoting access to education in the Philippines. These agencies oversee different levels and types of education, from basic education to higher education and technical skills training. Implementing agencies for education in the Philippines. The education system in the Philippines is managed by several government agencies that implement policies, oversee institution, and ensure quality education that at different levels. So, Department of Education, the DepEd, in charge of basic education, the K to 12 curriculum. It manages public and private elementary and secondary schools. Then it implements the K to 12 curriculum. Then it oversees alternative learning system for out-of-school youths and adults. Develops policies to improve teachers training, school policies, facilities, and student performance. Example, the DepEd ensures that all public school follows the K to 12 curriculum and provides learning materials. Then we also have Commission on Higher Education, the CHED. So regulates the higher education in colleges and universities. Now the CHED supervises public and private colleges and universities. Then it sets academic standards and accredits program, manage scholarship and financial aid for college students. Then implement the Free Higher Education Act RA and RA 1091 in state universities and colleges. Example, the CHED ensures the university maintain quality education in degree programs. Then we have the Technical Educational and Skills Development Authority, or the TISDA. The TISDA will handle technical vocational education trainings, TIGIT. Then this provides training and technical and vocational courses, example, welding and culinary arts. Then certifies national certificate as to NC1, NC2, etc., NC4 for job qualification. Then work and industry to match training program with labor market demands. Example, a high school graduate who wants to become an electrician can enroll in TISDA Certified Training Center and earn NC2 certificate. Then the Early Childhood Care and Development ECCD Council, they oversees early childhood education, the preschools. It implements program for children aged 0 to 5 years. Then it develops policies for daycare center and pre-primary education. Then work with LGU ensures accessible early childhood learnings. Example, the ECCD Council helps LGU set up barangay daycare center for young children. Then the LGU, the local government units, then supports education program in communities, provides funding for public schools, scholarships, and school infrastructures. manage barangay reading center and local literacy program. And it coordinates with DepEd, CHED, and TISDA for local educational initiatives. Example, the city government provides free school supplies and financial aids to students from low-income families. Then the National Commission on Indigenous People or NCIP protects and promote the indigenous education. This indigenous education develops indigenous learning system, then ensures the indigenous students have access to culturally relevant education, then work with the ed to integrate indigenous knowledge, system and practices into curriculum. Example, the NCIP supports School of Living Traditions that teach indigenous living, farming, and traditional governance. Then the Philippine Science High School System. So focuses on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the STEM education. So it operates specialized science high school across the country, provides scholarship for students excelling in science and math, then prepares students for careers in science research and technology. So example, a student excelling in science may receive a full scholarship to study in PSSS, the Philippine Science High School System. The summary of implementing agency. The agency, the DepEd, the chair, the TESDA, and their responsibilities. The DepEd in charge of basic educational curriculum, which is an ALS, the alternative learning system. The chair is in charge of higher education for colleges and universities. Then the technical and vocational education or the TVET. Also, the CCD, early childhood education, the daycare and the preschool, the GEOs, the local education support, scholarship school infrastructure, NCIP for indigenous education, then the PSSS for the science and technology focus on high school. This agency will work together to ensure accessible, quality, and inclusive education for all Filipinos. So, Section 2 ensures that the Philippine education system is accessible, high quality, and relevant to national development that emphasize for inclusive learning, modern teaching strategies, and strong governance to improve education for all. So that ends my topic, and thank you. Let me leave a quote. The beautiful things about learning is that no one can take it away from you by Philippine. Mm. Ah.
Good day, everyone. So, I'm here to discuss all about the key educational philosophies and their influence on legislation. So, basically, we will be understanding how educational belief shape policies and laws. So, education is guided by different philosophies that shape teaching methods, curriculum, and policies. These philosophies influence legislation that governs school and education system. This presentation explores key educational philosophies in their legislative impact. So, this presentation is all about how different educational philosophies influence policies and laws in educational system. It highlights key philosophical perspectives and their role in shaping legislation. And the goal is to understand how these philosophies impact teaching methods, curriculum, and student learning experiences. So we have first philosophy, which is called essentialism. So essentialism, its definition focuses on core knowledge and skills necessary for productive citizenship. So its proponent is, or key feature is, William Bagley, and its legislative influence is No Child Left Behind Act, or NCL. B, so emphasizes standardized testing, and the other one is Common Core State Standards, which promotes a rigorous curriculum. So, essentialism focuses on teaching core knowledge and fundamental skills needed for productive citizenship. So, the No Child Left Behind Act, or NCLB, aimed at improving academic achievement through standardized testing. So NCLB required schools to meet strict benchmark, ensuring students mastered essential subjects like math and reading. So we also have the Common Core State Standards, which is designed to provide a uniform, rigorous curriculum across states. Common Core emphasizes core subjects in structural learning and critical thinking skills. The next one, we have the progressivism. The next key philosophy is progressivism, which is defined as it emphasizes experiential learning and problem solving over note memorization. So its proponent is John Dewey, and its legislative influence is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, or IDEA, focuses on inclusive and adaptive education. So next one, we have there the Every Student Succeeds Act, or the ESSA, which provides flexibility in student assessment. So progressivism prioritizes hands-on learning, problem solving, and adapting education to students' need. Um, we have there its legislative influence, which is the IDEA, or the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which ensures that students with disabilities receive free and appropriate public education, emphasizing individualized learning and inclusive classrooms. Next, we have there the Every Student Succeeds Act, or the ESSA, which replaced the NCLB and allows states more flexibility in assessing students, promoting a student learning, the student centered approach rather than a rigid standardized testing. Next, philosophy is we have here the perennialism. So perennialism, its definition is stresses timeless truths in classical education with a focus on critical thinking. So its proponent is Mortimer Alder and Robert Hutchins. So its legislative influence is the Great Books Program, promoted in classical education reforms, and the liberal arts college funding, which supports traditional higher education. So, perennialism emphasizes timeless knowledge, classical literature, and critical thinking, which um, it is advocated by Mortimer D. I. Adler and Robert Hutchins. So, great books programs encourages classical education by promoting the study of timeless literature and philosophy, which reinforcing critical thinking and intellectual engagement. Next, we have there the liberal arts college funding, which provides financial support to traditional higher education institutions that emphasize broad-based and classical learning. Next, key philosophy is the social reconstructionism. Again, reconstructionism. Its definition is it advocates education as a tool for social change and equity. So its proponent is Paulo Freire and George Count. So its legislative influence is the Brown v. Board of Education 1954, which led to school desegregation, and the Title IX in 1972, which ensures gender equality in education. So, social reconstructionism sees education as a tool for addressing social issues and promoting equity. So, we have here the Brown v. Board of Education in 1954. It is a landmark Supreme Court case that ended racial segregation in public schools, ensuring equal education opportunities for all students. And the next one is the Title IX in 1972, which prohibits gender discrimination in education, which ensures equal opportunities for both male and female students in academics and athletics. Next, we have here um, existentialism. Its definition is emphasizes personal choice, freedom, and self-directed learning. So its proponent or key features is Jean-Paul Sartre and Maxine Green. Its legislative influence is the school choice policies, which charter schools, homeschooling, and regulations. So we have another one is the alternative education laws, which supports non-traditional learning environment. So existentialism values personal freedom, choice, and directed learning. So we have its legislative influence again, the school choice policies, which supports the creation of charter schools and homeschooling regulations, allowing parents and students greater freedom in selecting their education or educational path. Next, we have the alternative education laws, which recognizes the non-traditional schooling methods such as online learning and self-directed education catering to individual student needs. Next, we have the constructivism. So, constructivism, there in the definition, it's learning is an active process where students build their own understanding. So its key feature is Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky. Its legislative influence is the inquiry-based learning programs, which is funded in STEM initiatives, and the next generation science standards, or the NGSS, which focuses on hands-on learning. So basically, constructivism, more on hands-on learning. The students must do hands-on activities to gain some learning. So we have here constructivism. It promotes active hands-on learning where students build their own understanding. It's legislative influence again, the inquiry-based learning programs, which funds educational initiatives that promote students-led learning through hands-on exploration and problem solving, especially in STEM fields. And we also have the next generation science standards, which encourages active project-based learning in science classrooms, focusing on real-world application and student inquiry. So, to summarize all, educational philosophies shape teaching approaches and influence in laws that govern school. Policies like NCLB, IDEA, and Title IX reflect different political perspective in education. So, understanding these philosophies helps educators and policymakers analyze current education policies and predict future reforms. So for some questions, we have here, how do you see these philosophies reflect in their in your education. So to answer this question, education systems often reflect different philosophical perspectives such as progressivism, which is student-centered learning, essentialism, which core knowledge and traditional subjects, or constructivism, learning through experience. So for example, if your education emphasize standardized testing that might reflect an essentialist or perennialist approach. So if project-based learning was focused, that could indicate the progressivist philosophy. So, another question is what role should government play in shaping education policy? So, the government plays a major role through funding, curriculum, standards, and policies on equity and access. So, some argue that federal oversight ensures equal opportunities for all students, while others believe education should be controlled locally to better reflect community needs. Last one is, are there emerging philosophies that may influence future legislation? So personalized learning driven by AI and technology is gaining traction today. So next we have equity focused education such as culturally responsive teaching is influencing policy decisions or discussions. And the last one is the competency based education where students advance by demonstrating mastery rather than set time. I set time is another emerging trend. So that would be all for our topic, which is the introduction to the Philippine legal system and education. So again, I am Michelle Tanilon, which reports or tackles about the key educational philosophies and their influence on legislation. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have learned something.